Hey now, how's it going? This is Rob here from Rob School of Music, but today it's not Rob from Rob School of Music. It is Rob, the author of this book, Shreds, and I am so honored to be hanging out with my storytelling expert, writing coach, probably one of the coolest people on the planet, Miss Kristen Spencer. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Well, I am really excited because I actually had people tell me I wish Rob would let someone interview him, and I feel so privileged to be the one to do that. So, why don't we kind of switch the tables, turn the tables a little bit? And I'm actually going to start over and reintroduce Rob as if he's the guest and I somehow have a music YouTube channel, which would be crazy, but cool. All right, so welcome back to Rob School of Music. And today we're actually going to talk about the man, the living legend, the soon to be best-selling author. I have huge faith in that for him. We're going to talk to Rob Spampinato about his journey from, let's say, awkward teenager, right? To
Yes,
epic rock star. Can we use that language? Is that okay if I call you an epic rock star?
in my mind, that's what I am, so sure.
Okay, well, I agree with you 100%. So, the exciting thing is in today's interview, Rob is going to answer all of the questions that he is normally asking. And I get to ask him and kind of tease him a little bit. And we're going to find out also some of what is in his amazing new book that I cannot wait to be released. Everyone in my staff has not only fallen in love with the book, but also with Rob himself because it's so good. The stories are so amazing. They're so relatable. The advice is like top notch. And we can't wait. All of us at Literary Symmetry, which is where I work, where I'm the boss lady, we can't wait for you to read this book. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Are you nervous about this interview at all, Rob?
Strangely, a little bit. Yeah, it's weird, but I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so we're going to start with the first question. What was the first record or concert that made you say, I want to do that?
It's complicated because my dad's a musician. So music has been around me my whole life. He was, as growing up, he had bands and they'd practice in our basement or living room. So that was cool. It's dad, he's playing music. But there was a disconnect. I never really like started when I was 5, quit when I was 6, told that story a million times. But that's little boy. Like, so what made me pull the trigger and this is what I want to do? My friend James and his sister, who was my babysitter at the time, took me to see No Doubt at a local community college. And it was my first rock show. It was my first show of any kind. And it was
Oh my
general
gosh.
admission. So we're shoulder to shoulder. It was on a Tragic Kingdom tour. So showing my
Ah,
age.
the best
And
one.
right. Yeah. I mean, people were moshing during Don't Speak. It was insane.
I love
And
it.
there was Unwritten Law and Shelter were the other two bands. And that's like burned in my brain. And I saw them on the
Oh
stage and
my
I said,
gosh.
wow, this is cool. This might be something um, I could do with my life. And then it was gradual from there. But when I actually started to play music, that was just ultra present in my mind a couple of years later. That's definitely the spot where I was like, oh,
You don't even tell that story in the book. This is my first time hearing about this. Like, you guys don't know. I have spent so much time with Rob in the last 4 or 5 months. I've heard, I feel like almost every story. I've heard a lot of stories, and I have never heard that one. I'm a huge No Doubt fan. I love Unwritten Law. Like, you don't
oh
even
really?
know. Yes. So that is so exciting. I mean, everyone knows Tragic Kingdom is epic, right? So you like see Gwen Stefani up there, like you see the band rocking out, and you just thought, I want to do that.
100%. And it was the whole experience, like not even just seeing the band, because I wasn't playing music at the time. It was just the feel of it all. And like we went right to the front of the stage and we couldn't get to the center because there was too many people. So we were
Mm.
kind of to the side, standing in front of these giant square rectangles that were subwoofers. And I couldn't hear for like a week afterwards, but it was amazing and worth every second.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, well, that if you want more cool Rob stories, you should definitely buy his book. And I'm gonna say that a bunch, just so you know, because that's how much I believe in this book. I'm book obsessed and I don't recommend a ton of books, but his is one I definitely recommend. And in the book, you talk about this next question a ton, right? How do you deal with stage fright?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I've asked that to so many different people and I've gotten so many different answers. And some of them are my answer and some of them are different. I think it's truly an individualized thing. But for me, it's preparation. I go into every situation, and this has to do with just real life. Like, really, I run this in my mind when I'm going to order a coffee. And I'm like, okay, I've already ordered it. I did it, even though I didn't. It's so silly, but that's how it is. Um, I'm prepared for it. So if I have a gig coming up, I'm going to make sure that I know all the material as best I can. I'm properly rehearsed. And as you know, the curtain comes up in my mind, that's going to go over in a second. So why stress about it? If you did the work, you're ready. And I think that's life, right? Which is everything. People go crazy before they take the big algebra test. But if you didn't study, it's not going to matter. Why worry? You can't change it.
Yeah, that's so true. And I hate algebra so much. I'm
I
not
was
a math person.
so music is math, right? I failed math. I was in summer school 2 times because of math. It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, but music is like I feel like it transcends that because it's a mathematical language, right? And you talk about that in the book as well, how music can not only transcend like genres, but it transcends culture because it's a magical mathematical language.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about personas too, which ties into the stage fright, but I feel like we'll get into that a little bit more later with
Yeah.
some of the other questions. So, how did you get into this business?
It was so strange because I have this very specific memory, and I don't think I talk about this in the book either. It's funny because reliving my life story, like on paper, I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, and just a new thing pops in. So I have this very distinct memory of hanging out with my friend Eric Bornstein, who I don't talk about at all. And
No.
Eric, Eric, he had an older brother who played guitar, and Eric gave me like my first like rock cassette tapes, and his
Ooh.
brother played guitar, and we were in his room, and you're not supposed to be in like older brothers rooms, but we are in his room looking at his guitar and looking at all his bootleg concert tapes and things. And I said to myself, man, what an idiot. Why would anyone ever think they could be in a band and actually be famous? That's just insane. Why bother? And 6 months later, my friend James says, hey man, I'm playing guitar. You still got the guitar you had from when you were a kid? And that's just where everything changed. And it's so crazy to me that in literally half a year my entire life's purpose went from this is ridiculous to I'm going to do it. And then I think within the band I was in, what got me into where it ultimately went is I sang in my bands when I was first coming up, which is something I don't recommend anyone looking to try and find, but I did do that. And everyone else was afraid to do it. So I just found myself inventing this persona, going back to that initial thing that we were saying, um, building this character up, and that sort of just morphed. But I think really what got me into it was no one else wanted to. And then my father, as I said earlier, was a musician, and he has just been my biggest supporter the entire time. He has financially fronted every musical endeavor I had for the first 15 years of my career. He would take us to the music store and find, whatever amp that I was into, and then get a second one for James to play through. So
Oh,
there was
that's
no
so cool.
competition. Yeah, it was just incredibly generous. So it stems from him. He's definitely planted the seed, but there's just these little weird by chance things along the way that pushed it through the funnel.
And okay, so you talk about this in the book as well, how your parents were very supportive and how your dad was like your biggest fan and he would front, like he would drive the box truck to the shows,
Yes.
which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But I know that a lot of the people who watch this channel, they don't necessarily have a good support system built into their family. So, how do you deal with that in the book? Because I know it's something that was really important for you to get out there for people who are trying to build a musical support system.
Well, I think it's just finding it where you can. I was very, very lucky to have a supportive family. Be up to my parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents. They believed in this thing I was trying to do with my life, and I think I'd hope all of them are very happy to see that it actually went somewhere. Because there's certainly some times where it seemed like it couldn't. But for those who don't have that, don't feel alone. You can find that same thing in your bandmates, in your guitar teacher, in your teacher in school. Someone's going to believe in you, and you just got to find that person. And music is a great way to find those people because you're all hoping for the same thing. I think any older musician who sees a younger musician reaching for it and kind of craps on them, well, that's kind of a jerk, because it's cyclical, and we're all
Ugh,
just
yeah.
moving the wheel forward and sharing these songs and sharing these experiences. And that's a big part of what I do with the school. Every day I get to show, every week, a young person Metallica or Jimi Hendrix or John Bonham, whatever their instrument is, and just seeing every time their life changed. They changed. And then to be the person to be like, and you can do that too. I think it's just finding that community. It's very important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's so important to find people, and I think that's one of the things that really, for me, set your book apart from a lot of other music books was that, oh, you have all these mental health ideas built in, which is really refreshing. And I can see even with the early reviews you're getting, a lot of people are like, I love how holistic this approach is. And I just want to say directly to the watcher, the viewer, from Rob and myself, we believe in you. So if you need to, one of the things that Rob says in the book is borrow my belief. You can borrow our belief. Like,
Yes.
we believe you can do it. So don't give up. Keep going forward. And that's also something that you'll get more encouragement of inside Rob's personal story.
And I love so much that you said that part, because that's one of my favorite lines within there. And that's my YouTube channel, my school, me in real life. Like, I believe so much in the potential of other people. I always get made fun of. I say I'm passionate about passion. If someone's passionate about something, I'm all in. And that's probably the biggest thing I want this to achieve in other people is this 167 pages is telling you you can. We believe you can. Do it. Just do it. Play music today. You got it.
100%. And actually, this brings up a fun point for me. So, my staff was working on Rob's book. We have editors and formatters, and we're all working on it and reading it. And all of us picked up our guitars, except for our formatter. She doesn't play music actively, but she was very interested in the story. But, the editor, she had quit guitar lessons and she picked up your book, and as she was working through it, she like started doing two a week and she bought a new guitar. And now
That's
I'm
awesome.
looking at new guitars to buy. And our intern was like, I got my guitar out for the first time in 10 years. So if you just need like a little pep talk, if you need that the morality boost, then this story is so relatable on so many levels. And I just love that. Even, like we're technically your employees, right? We're working with you, but you're still inspiring everyone to push themselves and to re-embrace that magic that you
Awesome.
can get from music.
It's everything. That's mission accomplished.
Okay, so how do you get the gig and learn all the songs?
Practice. I have seen, it's my circumstances musically. Most of my bands were my own bands. And then
Mhm.
in the second half of my musical career, it's been playing with other people. And any gig I've ever gotten, any audition, I had this one particular gig I did, and I was auditioning and I learned all the songs I had to learn. They gave me this giant, like 200 song set list and said, learn a few. I learned the whole first set, which
Oh
was
my
like
goodness.
17 songs or something like that,
That's a
18 songs. I can't
lot.
remember. It was, but I wanted to show them, especially because this was a different genre for me. I was coming out of rocker metal guy. Like I literally 2 weeks prior got back from a tour playing with this band Diecast, which plays like Killswitch Engaged kind of that kind of metal,
Yeah.
screaming with melodic vocals, and that was like a Northeast tour. So that was like their home space. So it was killer. And then 2 weeks later, I'm learning Lady Gaga and uh, disco music and all kinds of, and I
That's
showed up
awesome.
to, it was incredible. And I showed up to the audition, and the driveway was like an incline like that. And I was like, all right,
Uh-huh.
well, I drove here. I drove here. Time to go home. But I didn't. I carried all my road cases up this giant steep driveway.
Oh
Inside,
my
I'm
gosh.
soaking wet. I look like a maniac, just huffing and puffing and sweating through my clothes. Um, but I knew all the songs. And I knew as I was getting there that no matter what adversity I was going to face, I was there early. So even to carry all my stuff up the giant, absurd, unpaved driveway, I still got in the door and had all my stuff set up 10 minutes before I was supposed to be there, even with all that extra stuff built in. I knew the material. I was friendly. I was humble. I was sincere. And I was just constantly aware of this is a cool situation to be in. There's no ego. There's no arrogance. There's no cockiness. It doesn't matter where I was 2 years ago. Here I'm
Yeah.
in someone's living room auditioning to play pop songs. Doesn't matter. Playing music is the gift. Who cares what the song is? And to me, that was a huge part of and that happened along the way. That happened when I was playing. How would we audition to play? We played a bunch of clubs in LA. We had to send videotape submissions. Okay, well, we put them in the folder and the press kit, and we made sure everything was professional looking. And I just think that preparation and punctuality and just awareness of the situation is a huge part of getting any gig really in life.
Well, okay. I want to point this out because this is something that I know people who watch your show always think, and I've heard people say this, is that Rob is really good at like getting all the little humble nuggets and like gratitude nuggets out of these crazy amazing musicians. And when he interviews them, it's different than when other people interview them. I echo that 100%. But I think what you just said is such a key to that is you approach everything with this attitude of gratitude. I hate to
I
rhyme
love
like
that.
that, but
No, yes, you're singing to me, rapping. Let's go.
and
Attitude of
like
gratitude.
the humility, right? How how did you get that? That's so hard, especially for someone who performs on stage for a living, right? It's really easy to let the ego get to you. So do you
Right.
feel like it's more something that your parents instilled in you? And I know you definitely have talked about your dad and how he was like very business minded, but also very grateful. So where do you think that comes from? How did that become your superpower?
I think it's a combination of all those things. I think it's my upbringing. I think I'm proud to say I had a good family life, supportive parents who were worked hard to put food on the table and long hours and but still were present for every karate tournament and for every family birthday party. So I think that awareness of it's presence, really. I think it's just presence. I wake up every day and I'm excited to come do my job because it's so incredibly lucky to be able to do this, and that is never lost on me. Now, there was a small blip on my radar when I was probably 18, 19, where my band was on a strong upward trajectory and I was starting to get a little full of myself. And I got humbled pretty quickly and I learned from that. It's funny because friends that I've had a long time, I'll often reference old Rob versus new Rob.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, well, in 2000, 2002, Rob, he was kind of an S, and they laugh. But it's funny because I'll bring that guy up like he's a total stranger. I'm like, don't make me bring out 2002, Rob, let's go. And then say something I would have said with that headspace. But it's just maturity and awareness. And I just think the presence, honestly, like it's never lost on me. I got to sit here in this chair and on literally on my birthday last year, interview Steve Vai, who is like the guy, one
Yeah.
of the top, and he talked to me like we were friends. It was so beautiful and cool. So I think just awareness and presence.
That's so awesome. Okay. So now we get to this is also in the book, right? You've put so many nuggets in the book, but what is your practice regimen?
All right. So growing up, I was a crappy practicer. My guitar teacher would I still have my binder from 1997, 98, 99 when I was taking
I love that.
lessons.
Yeah.
Um, and I've showed it actually to I'm still friends with my teacher, and he's like, wow, I still do those lessons. Awesome. Like it works.
Right.
But I didn't care back then. I didn't care at all. My focus was writing my music and hanging out with my friends and girls and just rock star idiocy. But I didn't progress. I was frozen in time for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I went to college for music and I was like, whoa, jazz guitar. What's a seventh chord? I don't know what that is. Wow,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
embarrassing. Well, there's a bass clef too. Oh, I don't know what that means either. Things like that. So for me, whenever I grab my guitar at any point during the day, and this is like for me specifically, but then you can connect it to others.
Yeah.
Anytime I grab my guitar, I sit at my chair, I turn around, I grab the guitar. I look at the clock, I say, all right, I got 5 minutes I can play. I'm going to take a third of that time and run something that's really hard. And then noodle around and have fun the other half. Anytime you're playing your instrument, you're bonding with it, you're getting more familiar, you're learning something, you're learning where your hands go, you're learning how to track left hand to right hand. But it's my philosophy is one third of every time you touch your instrument recreationally. Obviously, while you're performing, that's a different story. But
Right, right.
recreationally, one third of the time should always be focused on something complex. And then I get a pushback from students. Well, I don't have a lot of time. Okay, that's fine. If we have a half hour lesson each week, I want you to guarantee to yourself and to myself, you're going to put in at least 2 hours of practice time between your half hour lessons and put it on your calendar. I don't care if it's 15 minutes here, 10 minutes
Yeah.
there, whatever it is, 2 hours really working on it. And out of those 2 hours, one third of that time has to be on complex new things, hard things. And that's how you move forward. It's really true. And if you follow that in 1 year, you're going to progress what someone who's just having a good time would take 3 years to do.
Yeah, you say that in the book, and I was, I've just been thinking about it since we worked on that part, and even when we were editing it, and I was like, this is not like, you know, uh my background, I was also in music. I did drum and bugle corps, and I was in drumline, and Rob and I geeked out over band the first time that we talked. But I was like in the mosh pit instead of on stage.
Right.
Which is actually true. I have been trampled in mosh pits before. But like it's one of those things where I never learned that approach to practicing, even though I was around musical people all the time and I come from a musical family. And it just like opened my eyes in such an intense way where I was like, oh, and like you were saying, even if someone doesn't have a ton of time, it's like, okay, what's one of that time? Whatever time you
Right.
have, you can actually put this in practice. And I love that. That also slides into our next question perfectly, which is what made you want to start a music school? So we just heard about your college and your like music awakening, right? When you're like, I need to learn this stuff. But how did you get from that to where you are now, helping students be able to do what you can do?
It's interesting, honest, because it really wasn't going to happen. So I had like taught people along the way, like if I'm home from a tour or just, random students through Skype, which is so
Yeah.
strange to even say Skype now because Zoom has just crushed them.
Poor
But that's what
Skype.
it was. You meet someone in Arizona and then you stay in contact in MySpace or whatever. And then, hey, you want some lessons. But the actual music school, I was approached by another individual who was running the music program at a local music store. And he asked me to teach on Friday and Saturday mornings. And at the time, I was gigging Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings, and like Sunday lunchtime matinee sort of stuff. So I was like, okay,
Okay.
well, this is dead time for me.
Mhm.
Monday and Tuesday are technically my weekend days. So why don't I just fill out some more of those my 5 work days? But I was hesitant. I almost said no because like I don't know how to. I haven't taught piano. I haven't taught drums. I can play them, but I haven't taught them. And
Right.
he's like, I just do it, whatever. And he kind of just shoved me into it because he just didn't want to deal with having to hire someone else. And I did it. I did it for a couple of months, and I got a phone call the day after Valentine's Day. So I'd only been there for 2 months, and I thought I was in trouble because I lost a student. And he says, I'd like to sell you the business. I don't want to do this anymore. And there's a lot more to that story, which I'll leave out. But I did it. And I basically bought the roster of students that were existing. I think it was like 70 students or so at the time. And it
Oh,
was
that's a
very,
lot.
oh, yeah. But it was very
You
risky
never told me
because,
that.
oh, yeah. But they all could have quit. They all could have quit. A lot of them were on their way to college or just
Yeah.
older, and everything was different. And I kept most of them, which was awesome. And since then, a lot of them have aged out of the program, but I was able to keep it going. And then a
Yeah.
year into that happening at the music store that I was teaching out of, they told me they were closing that location. And that was devastating because that was a pretty sweetheart deal. I had the lesson rooms to use, no overhead. It was
Right.
perfect. I was still figuring everything out. And that is when it could have been. That first year, I don't really think of that as Rob's School of Music because it was so many parameters and other things where it was going.
Yeah.
And I found out that on a Monday morning, and I freaked out. And then I called a real estate agent friend of mine, and she said, "I think there's a spot in town you should check out." I went to the spot. I checked it out. The landlord was very dismissive because I was in a tank top, I think, and
Well, not just that, right? Like you describe it in the book as like you had your whole you were rock starred
yeah,
out, right? And you're like,
yeah,
hey, I want to rent this for a legitimate business.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, just covered in tattoos and just, still tears in my eyes probably because I was so banged up in the car. So I just looked like a maniac. And yeah, and then I got into this space. James, actually, my friend James, he's by trade a mechanic. What's he do? He does
Mechanical
drawing,
engineer.
mechanical. Yeah, no, but not engineer. He
Oh,
does like drawing. Like
technical artist?
I'm not sure. He makes he
James, leave a
he
comment and tell us so we don't have to
yeah, yeah.
guess anymore.
Yeah, he drew out the architectural plans of what this
Oh,
ultimately became, which
that's
is
so
so
cool.
special because like the dude who made me learn to play music again, like literally helped me design the floor plan, which is insane, and like in a professional, legitimate way. So yeah,
Oh,
that's how I got
I
into
love that.
this, and this space has just grown and grown and grown, and we have the stage here now, and we have um, more students than we've ever had in the building, plus another probably 100 or so students virtually around the country. So it's just been the coolest thing. But it started with I'm imposter syndrome. I can't do this. All right,
Yeah.
let's see what happens. To oh my god, everything fell apart. To let's just keep going. And I love it. And I actually have some really cool expansion things that I'm working on also. So cool stuff coming.
Yay. I mean, I think so. I kind of always think like, what was the other person imagining? And I can't imagine that that person was just going to be like, everyone, Rob is your teacher now, unless he saw something in you, right? Like, you wouldn't just abandon your students, even if you're tired, but he kind of pushed you into it. And I know you see this all the time because you own a music school, which is so cool, by the way. But just because someone's good at playing music doesn't mean they're good at teaching music.
Yes. I think with this particular individual, my family had owned a pizzeria in the same shopping center. So he had seen my personality there promoting the business and stuff. We knew each other through music. So yeah, I think there was a part there, but you're totally right. I mean, I meet people, you turn off that sound. I don't know if you hear that sound, but that sound comes in. I meet people all the time that are like, yeah, I'm awesome. And they can play circles around me, but man, they couldn't teach you how to just hold a guitar, let alone play it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes such a big difference to have someone who understands different learning styles. And I know that, like at your school, it's very customized because everyone learns differently.
Yes.
So yeah, I love that so much. Okay, are we
Yeah, I
going to
think
do
that,
the, oh, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna just on the customized part. I think that's really what makes this a unique sort of thing. And it's just not one size fits all because that's not how anyone learns. I mean, maybe public education they teach you that way, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
meet a lot of people who don't remember anything from public education because they were just shoved through the
Oh, man.
system,
Don't even get me started. Do not even
right?
get me started on that. I totally agree. Okay, so let's go to the desert island. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, if you were trapped on a desert island, with what guitar would you have? Guitar, amp, and pedal, and you can only have one of each.
Okay.
Oh, yay, show and tell. I love it.
Okay. So it's this guitar.
Okay.
Um, so I've been endorsed with PRS guitars since 2007 or six or eight, one of those. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
And they've just been incredible to me, and I love their instruments. The attention to detail, it's not an advertisement, it's a fact. The craftsmanship, it's just Paul Smith is a genius, and the stuff he does is everything is there for a reason. So I had been with them, and some weird life stuff happened, and I stopped playing music for a bit, and like it was over and it was gone, and I got rid of a lot of my guitars, and it was just a really sad time. And
Oh.
then in 2016, um, I'd been doing this acoustic thing for a while, and I was like, we're gonna put a band back together. I need to get a cool electric guitar. And I saw a picture of this very guitar in a magazine, and I put it on Instagram, and I was like, dream guitar or something like that.
Ah.
And then I reached out to PRS, and they're like, that particular model, the neck is made of rosewood, the finish, the top, we don't have a ton of those. Like we just that's not something we can get for an artist at this time. I was like, yeah, fine. I understand that
Right,
entirely.
right. Yeah.
And then in 2019, I was scrolling through the internet and I found one, which was this one. And PRS guitars, they have a tag when you buy them that tells you when they're manufactured. And it had been manufactured in 2016. So it was of the same year of the one that
Oh,
I'd
man.
found. And it was manufactured on April 21st, which is my birthday.
Which I
So
know, if you don't know
yes,
Rob's birthday, you're about to because his book, his Kindle drops on April 21st, which is so
yes,
exciting. Okay, sorry, get
yes.
back into your story now.
So this would be the guitar. It's
Yeah.
made of mahogany. It has a maple top. It has two humbuckers, but you can make them single coils, and it does every sound I need. I have 60 something guitars and counting, but if I had just one, this could do everything I need it to do. So that would be the Desert Island guitar. The
Yes, nice.
amplifier would be a Mesa Boogie Mark V, which is a high gain amplifier, but it also has a really good clean channel, so I could play distortion and clean guitar. And then the pedal
Okay.
I would bring would be um, probably like a Strymon Big Sky, which is like a delay, a reverb pedal,
Yeah,
like ambient sounds. So yeah.
nice. I mean, I like how you're like, okay, I know for sure the guitar. I know the exact amp. Which pedal am I going to take?
Yeah, the pedal's a problem because they all
Yeah.
do different things. I picked a reverb because reverb, you can kind of make that sound like delay, so you can play off of yourself. So if I'm like alone on an island losing my mind, at least for those 1/3 of my playing time, I can do cool things pretending to play with someone else.
Right. That is sad, but very thoughtful. Okay. So I don't know what this question means. Just so everyone knows, I play the acoustic guitar and I was in percussion. So I haven't gotten my first electric yet. I'm like this close to going out and buying one. Like I was going to go buy one yesterday because it's all Rob's fault. But so what are your thoughts and can you explain what this means on amp modeling technology versus tube amps?
Yes. Good question. So a tube amp would be like these here. Um, two types of amplifiers: a tube amplifier, which has vacuum tubes inside of it, little things that look like light bulbs, and that is where a lot of the tone comes from. But the
Okay.
problem with the tube amp is they're really heavy in weight. A lot
Mhm.
of them you need to get them pretty loud before they hit the sweet spot, and they're
Okay.
fragile. And they're
Right.
fragile.
Yeah.
Um, all of my gigging and touring up until probably 2018, I would take one of those with me. Amp modeling technology is companies like Line 6 and Fractal and Kemper have these, they're basically computers where they've taken all the sounds from all these various amplifiers and replicated
Mhm.
them. And it is a huge point of contention with guitar players because does it sound as good as the real thing? You know, it's if you're going to show up to a session, and I've had like some of the pros I've talked to, and they're like, if you don't bring a tube amp in, everyone's going to just dismiss you immediately. Versus other professionals saying like, no, I just bring my Axe effects with me, and it does everything I need. So
Yeah.
my answer to that question is both. My answer to
Ok
questions about all gear is both because I use these to play and have fun. But I am a fan of Fractal Audio. Their Axe Effects series of modelers are, you can't tell the difference. I have one sitting in front of me that I use for all my digital content, and I actually use one in my teaching room also. So both.
okay, I like that. Why not, right? Why not
Yeah,
use both? You're not
yeah,
on a desert island anymore, so you don't
that's
have to
right.
pick.
But you know what? I've had people answer the desert island question by saying they would bring a fractal with them, and that's like cheating because it does everything.
Oh, that's true. I mean, ugh, yeah. You're like, I don't have to pick one, so I say both, but if I had to pick one, doesn't that make sense, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
just a girl who doesn't play electric guitar speaking. Okay.
Yet.
So let's get a little bit more into your day to day. And I know that this is a huge thing for you because we talked about it so much when we were planning your book, right? Like, what is a day in the life? And do you have any specific daily routines, health and well practices, etc.?
Yes, yes, awesome. So before, I'm going to give you two choices because pre the thing that happened the last couple of years,
Yeah, yeah. I
it
hear
was a
you.
little different. It was a little
Yeah.
different. So the last couple of years, I wake up in the morning, I gulp down a bunch of water, I
Hmm.
go for a walk or a run. There's beautiful lakes and nature where I live. During the warmer months, we've started bicycle riding. I bought some really nice bicycles for myself and my girlfriend. So we'll
So
go on
fun.
this awesome trail. And then before everything, I would go to a gym. I loved going to the gym, and I haven't been
Yeah.
going to the gym, and I see it on myself in this reflection. But hey, life is life. Um, but fitness is a huge part of everything. I think health is
Mm,
wealth. So I'll throw
mm.
out some cliche rhymes too.
Yeah,
And
join my club.
that's it. But they're true and they stick in your brain for a reason. And I think if
Right.
you're not together physically, you're not together mentally. And if you're not together mentally, you're not together physically. They kind of connect to each other. So some sort of physical activity in the sun, especially in the warmer months, that'll last longer. I come into the school between 10 and 11, bang out all of the emails, play guitar for a bit. Then I have lunch in the afternoon. I try and take care of any digital content I need to put out. If there's any
Yeah.
videos I need to film, I usually try and put that specifically after I've eaten, but before I have to go into teaching mode. Because at this
Hmm.
point, I'm still teaching a couple of lessons a day. I have a bunch of other amazing teachers who are doing that, but there's certain people that I still work with personally.
Yeah.
Um, Eat dinner, and then I have usually band classes at night that I run, which is a lot of fun to see the kids play together. I eat dinner way too late. I watch shows like The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'm totally cool with that.
I love it.
Um, and then I try and read. I try and read before bed to shut my brain off because my brain is always going.
Yeah.
I'm accused frequently of not being in any particular moment, which is
Hmm.
ironic because I think my presence is what allows me to be here. But often I say I am omnipresent because I'm many places all at once, which is the reading kind of centers that. And I think that's reading is the best thing you can do because you're investing in, if it's a nonfiction book, you're investing in your imagination. And if
Yes.
it's, or I'm sorry, if it's a fiction book, and if it's a nonfiction book, you're investing
Right.
in either it's growth either way.
Actual
So
skills. Right. Yeah. For
yeah,
nonfiction,
yeah,
real life stuff.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. And obviously that's how Rob and I met because we're both obsessed with storytelling. And
That's
I just like for me, that was a huge part. Do you want to talk about being a vegan at all?
Yeah, I was just about to get there. So I
Yeah.
don't eat meat. I don't eat meat. I haven't eaten meat, with the exception of, let me preface it the proper way. So I have not had cow, pig, chicken, turkey, bison.
Oh, bison's so
Um,
good though.
yeah, well,
Sorry,
when I was super into the fitness, we were doing a lot of
bison.
burgers like that, and it was just
Yeah.
killer. But no, so I hit a bird with my car when I was picking my son up from uh,
Oh,
preschool when he was 4, and now he's 10, so quite some time ago. And the bird
yeah.
died in my girlfriend's hands, and a tear came out of his face. And I said, "That's it.
Oh.
I'm done."
Oh my
So I've not,
gosh.
yeah, brutal. So I haven't touched any of that stuff since 6 years, I guess, we're coming up on.
Okay.
I will have milk occasionally in my coffee, but seldomly, usually almond milk. If I have ice cream, yeah, I'm gonna cheat. If I have pizza, I'm gonna cheat. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
mozzarella. Man,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
good.
I'm Italian. I mean, every time my dad's like, "We're making sauce," I'm like, I know that, but please just don't put meat." Why? Well, come on, you know why?
You're like, you can still put all the seasonings. The meat
Yeah,
is not a
exactly.
seasoning. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel good from it. I don't miss any of that, and I think
Yeah.
I've met a lot of musicians who attribute their longevity and health to a similar diet. But to me, I'm not preachy about it. I'm sorry if any of that sounded preachy. Do
It did
you?
not.
You know,
No, it
it's
didn't.
if I'm on the checkout line and someone's order, they got bacon in front of me, I go in my mind, that's gonna taste good, but I don't want to taste it. That's how it is.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like, that's kind of your approach to life in general, wouldn't you say? And, like, if you
Yes.
don't know Rob, I'll just tell you, he's one of the easiest going people ever. Like, and when he's not easygoing, it's because he really cares so much about something. So, like, it's just really cool probably for everyone to get to know you a little bit better this way. And I haven't heard you talk a lot about, why you eat the way you do on the show before, and I know that's something that people are probably curious about. And so thank you for sharing it with everyone.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. So, pretend I don't know anything about music, which as we've already established, I know way less about music than Rob. I'm just starting out. What would you tell me? What advice would you give to someone who's just starting?
Does it matter the instrument?
I don't know. When you ask people, do you ask them for their specific instrument?
I do, because it changes a little bit depending on the instrument. It does, but the
Okay.
overarching the overarching sentiment is keep going, keep
Right.
going, keep going, keep going. It's a journey. None of this is easy. If anyone could just pick up an instrument and shred immediately, well, then everyone would
Yeah.
do it. It's very
Oh, for sure.
specialized. And for a guitarist, I say, it's 3 months. It's going to take 3 months before this thing clicks. And it's going to
Yeah.
suck for a bit in the middle there, but it's okay. It's going to suck
Right.
together. Oh, that sounded bad. It's going to be bad
It's a
together.
community experience, right? Where everyone's learning.
Yes. And you're going through the same stuff everyone else has gone through. You are not
Yeah.
alone in the things you're dealing with. And I will specifically say to people, because I have a couple people who they just fly through everything. Everything's clicking. Everything's awesome. And I'm like, that's great. I'm excited. I'm screaming. I'm a maniac. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you got that. You're the best. But something's going to be hard for you. And when it is, don't freak
Yeah.
out because it's going to
Mhm.
happen. I promise you it's going to happen. And sometimes, like, I'll throw extra hard stuff at them, trying to get it to happen just so they can have that real, oh, wait, oh, this isn't as easy, because none of it's easy. But the secret is
No.
keep going. Trust in your teacher, trust in the people around you. Having a good teacher is really, really important. And I'm not saying that because I am a teacher. There have been many times where I have
Mhm.
had students here who are not good for our culture. We just don't align. And I literally will provide them with the name of someone else elsewhere that I
Yeah.
know through gigs or something separate from this business, that's a better fit for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We had something happen last night at my house, and this is super embarrassing for me, and I'm gonna make you share something embarrassing after this.
Cool.
But so I entered a science fiction competition and I totally failed. Like they were like, "No, this is not a fit for us." I just found out yesterday and
Aw.
I was like, I read it in front of my kids. I was like, "Oh, I failed." And I realized I don't fail enough in front of my kids. Like that's a weird thing to think about, but I was like, "Well, I tried." And then my kids started listing off all the things they failed at recently. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just gave them permission to talk about all this by literally failing and being sad in front of them." And it wasn't like, "Oh, my writing career is over," right? No, I'm still gonna write science fiction. I can't help myself. But it was one of those moments where I was like, "Okay, they saw me fail. So how do you help your students know that it's okay to fail?" Like, do you ever tell them embarrassing stories or just share with them things that didn't work out?
Every day of my life, and I love it. I tell this story where I tell it in the book, so I'll tell it here. I was playing at the Stone Pony, which is awesome spot in Asbury
Mhm,
Park, New Jersey. Springsteen, Bon Jovi. I mean, it's just a institution, an
mhm.
institution. And I was playing there with one of my bands, and I did my best David Lee Roth jump off the drum riser air split thing. And this was long enough ago where I was thinner, so it was easier. Like, I nailed the air split. Like, I actually I have a picture I'm going to send you of me doing it at a different venue to show I actually can do it,
Yes, I
or
wanna see
could
it.
do it. Yeah.
I wanna see
Um,
it for sure.
and I'm rocking, and it was cool, and I nailed it. And there's people in the front, and it's killer. And I started to feel like this draft. I was like, oh, maybe like a door's open or something. I'm not sure. And it turned out I had split my pants, and this was like a time where super skinny jeans were cool. So I was buying like
Okay.
jeans
Like,
from
when
like
you would shrink them onto yourself, do you remember that? When you would,
I would
like
buy them. I would buy them from the girls section. I'd go to H&M and I would buy the female flared out bell bottom jeans. So they were like Robert Plant, like that
Yeah, yeah.
look.
Yeah.
Um, Not quite as majestic, but that look.
Okay.
So normally with those type, I wouldn't wear underwear because like you'd see I wear boxer briefs. Oh, here's some TMI, and you could see like the on my thigh like riding
You
up, and
would
you'd see
see
like the
the
ridge. Yeah,
right, this
you
was
can't have any
before
pan.
Spanx, everybody, just so you
That's
know.
right, exactly, and you can't show the lines.
Yeah.
So thank God that day I did. I had on like a lot like this color green um, underwear, and the hole got bigger and bigger. And then in watching footage back, it had occurred in the second song. So it was like
Oh.
that for a really long time. But I laugh. I laugh. I didn't like run off the
Yeah.
stage screaming and crying. And I tell that story to my kids. My first gig, I don't think I say this in the book. So my very first gig at a venue was at a venue called Obsessions in Randolph, New Jersey. And
Okay.
our bass player quit the show 3 days prior because he got an opportunity to play in his other band opening up for Guster, which was a big band at the, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Sucks
So
for
we're
you
like,
guys, though.
absolutely. And in that moment, this gig was everything to us. Like this was, we
Oh.
told all of our families, everyone was coming. We had to sell tickets, pay to play, the whole stupid thing. And my guitar teacher filled in for us, Ryan. He played with us. And Ryan was a touring musician. He played in an international Pink Floyd tribute band. So this guy was playing
Ooh.
in Amsterdam and Red Rocks and like big things. And here he is in this
Yeah.
rinky dink club. And I broke a string on the first or second song.
Oh no.
And I didn't have a backup guitar.
Oh
And
no.
I was mortified because
Oh
now
my
I
God.
had to figure out how to play, without with my teacher right there, probably going, look at this schmuck, he can't even figure out how to like. It was just everything went wrong. But hey, it's part of the story. It's all part of the story. That's like failure is part of success. I, I fail hundreds of times every week. I was just talking to someone else about this, but no one hears about it because why? It's just you just keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
It's all you can do. If you stop, you only truly fail when you stop. I
Yeah,
mean
and
that.
I think that's why I was like so like, oh my gosh, like, my kids don't see me fail a ton. I'm always like, failure is the best teacher, which I 100% believe because failure has kicked my butt. Like, it has taught me so many different things. But it's just like, if so, for anyone who's watching and you're like, Rob never fails, he just admitted he fails a ton. I fail a ton. We
Yes.
want you to know it's just part of it and it's okay to fail because if you don't, you're not going to learn as quickly. And
And
yeah, go
you know
ahead.
what also? Like I think it's important to reference because I always tell failure in these comical situations.
Yeah.
All my failures are definitely not comical. There's been
Yeah.
huge financial failures. I had to restart my entire life um, in 2012 because of some personal changes. And I started from zero, everything from zero. And now I've gotten back to here. I had a restaurant in 2008, and in 2010, we had to close that because
Mm,
the economy was just tanking and it just wasn't
awful.
working. Like
Yeah.
that to me taught keep going. Don't take your foot off the gas. Those failures haunt me, but they also motivate me every second of my
Right.
life.
And that's one of the things that I just really love about you in general is you're like, okay, this thing was just awful and crappy, and I'm gonna say that's what it was, but I'm not going to let it stop me. And I feel like that has contributed a lot to the success you had. I mean, I know you've already talked about this, and I don't want to talk about it a ton, but when I'm talking about you to my friends and stuff, they're always like, who is this guy? I'm like, he's the first one to move music lessons to digital, like when everything was still happening in real time, like when the pandemic started. Do you feel like all of those things were kind of leading up to you being flexible enough to do that?
I wish I had a legitimate answer to that because I question it all the time. I look back at that time, like we literally found out someone had died in our town,
Mm,
and
yeah,
there was rumors. Oh, did he have it? Is it it? And
yeah,
we found out that one of my police officer friends gave me the inside tip. Yes, it was. And this was on a Saturday. And I said, whoa, this doesn't feel right. Let's figure what we can do. And I just sat at my kitchen table and I'm on the internet and saying, what are my options? And I put a video on Instagram and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going virtual. You're going to get a video. It's going to be okay just for 2 weeks. Remember, 2 weeks. And um, I look back at that video because I used that video as a marketing thing for when we came back to in person. I'm like, look how composed I am. How am
yeah,
I so composed? Like,
yeah.
I
That's my question
literally,
too.
yeah, I think because it's exactly what we just said. It's
Yeah,
there was adversity coming, and I had two choices: sit down and cry, or punch my way through it. And I punched my way through it. And I, when my time ends, hopefully 100 years from now, if there's one thing like I want people to remember, it's that like that guy
yeah,
kept going. Like he didn't. I wasn't naturally good at music. I never was. I'm painfully shy. I'm awkward. I stutter. I say like a lot. I suck at eye contact. There's a million things wrong with me, but you can never say that I didn't try. And I think that's the
yeah.
secret to life. Just try.
I love that. That's so good. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question that's not on the list, and then we're gonna do the rapid fire questions. Okay.
All right, I'm ready. Off script. I
Okay.
like it.
All right, so you all don't know how hard Rob has worked on this project and how brave he has been. And I want to know, was writing a book like what you thought it would be?
Yes and no.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so the yes, um, Actually, no, I'm going to say no across the board, but not in
Okay.
a negative way. Not in a negative way. The recapping, because there's this whole thing of, well, who am I to tell this thing? And then like from
Yeah.
your incredible positivity and just been so awesome in, this is
Oh.
the right move, you can do it. Like that got me through it more times than you know, because there were so many times along the way where I was like, who the hell am I? Like, no one's gonna, why? Yeah. And then now to like see it all together, it is so much more. Just forget how cool it looks and feels, but like to see the cohesiveness of literally my life's work, my everything from quitting at 6 to starting at 13 to every bad gig to every torn pants to every heartbreak, and then personal
Yeah.
private things along the way. Like, I didn't think it would be as cool as it is. Not minimizing how cool I think it would be, just it's making me remember things about my life that I think
Yeah.
will be valuable to people going forward. So whomever reads this, whatever comes after this, if it's another book or something more specific or a lesson or mentoring or whatever version of me I put out to the universe, a better version is coming out because I'm tapped into the vein that I didn't
Yeah.
even know how to find. And this made that happen. And I didn't anticipate that.
It's pretty mind-blowing, right? Like it's crazy. You don't I've written over 20 books now, and every time I sit down to write a book, it's never what I think it's going to be. Like the
Yeah.
things that come out, it's so interesting, and I find that the writers that I work with, they have the same experience. But yeah, obviously it was a pleasure to work with you. I'm so glad you let me help you with this project. It is one of my favorite books ever, and that's saying something because I have a degree in literature, just so you know. But yeah, so
Thank you.
I'm gonna tell everyone go out and buy this book, and not just because I helped Rob with it, but because I honestly believe in it. Everyone on my staff loves it. The reviews are coming in great. We're like, and if you're like, who should be my online teacher? I didn't tell Rob I was gonna do this, so he just has to grin and bear it. But Rob is the person that you should trust to learn music. Like my kids are not going to take music lessons from anyone outside of Rob's School of Music. I will never do that. I'm going to try to talk Rob into a very specific course at some point in the future that doesn't exist yet. And hopefully I'll get to be one of the first people in it. But you can trust him 100%. And if you're a parent, I have 3 kids. Like I would trust him to teach my kids because he cares. He's not, and you'll see that in the book. There's so many stories of just like him caring more than other people would have. And to the point where I'm surprised he's not completely burnt out because he just puts so much of his heart out there. But okay, that's enough of me shamelessly plugging Rob's business because I 100% believe in it. And if you know me, you know I don't lie. I'm like an integrity person. So
Thank you
let's
so much.
transition, not awkwardly at all, into the rapid questions.
All right.
Okay, so I asked Rob for the music beginners, like myself, right? I'm not a beginner, but I still don't understand some of the stuff. So he's actually going to explain some of the more technical ones for all of you who watch him do this with these like amazing, epic rock and roll stars, right? He's going to help those of us who aren't necessarily in the game already understand what some of these are.
Yeah.
Okay. Humbucker or single coil? Did I say that right?
You said it completely right. Hold on. Let me take a sip of my vegan protein shake laced with 3 shots of espresso. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, that's so much caffeine.
Boom. Monday, Tuesday, whatever day. All right. So humbucker or single coil. So
He's gone to the guitar wall, ladies and gentlemen.
an electric guitar can have 2 general types of pickups, this type
Yeah.
or this type. If you
Okay.
notice, this type looks like just 2 of this type next to each other.
Yeah.
Single coil is 1 magnet wrapped in copper, and that's the first type of pickup that existed. Think Jimi Hendrix, think
Mm,
Eric Clapton, that's your tone.
nice.
Humbucker is 2 single coils wrapped together, so it bucks the hum. This will buzz,
Oh,
zzz, 60
yeah.
cycle hum. It's annoying. This does not make that sound. It's also beefier. Think
Mm,
metal.
yeah.
My answer, if I had to pick one for my entire life, would have been this one, but now it's this one because the single
Oh,
coil is more expressive.
Okay.
Funky stuff, articulation. There's just more, you can get more you out of it. So single
All
coil.
right. That was very informative and entertaining, I have to say.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, Les Paul or Strat? Oh, this is a hard one.
Yes, because PRS is the answer. But
I do like that answer. For anyone who doesn't know about PRS, you should go watch Rob's interview with Paul Reed Smith
yeah,
because it is like mind-blowingly awesome. Just an FYI.
thank you. Yeah, he was just generous to give me the time. But a PRS guitar is the perfect blend of both.
Yeah.
It's mahogany with maple, like a Les Paul, but you can get those single coil tones. So that would be my answer. But it's not one of it's against the rules. The answer is all of them because they all really do something different. It's a really unfair question. But the
Yes,
next
and
two
you
I can be specific.
you ask people that question all the
I
time
know.
and you
I'm an
make
ass.
them
Yeah,
give an answer. So
I
you
know.
have to answer. You have to answer, Rob.
Strat, strat.
Okay. All right. I made him do it just for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Strat or Telly? Tella?
Yep. So a telly. Yep. So a Stratocaster or
Telly.
a Telecaster. So a Stratocaster would be like the pink guitar I just held up, and then a Telecaster would be this shape, which they're just two different types
Ooh.
of Fender guitars. You can hear me when I
Okay.
walk away, right? So Stratocaster, it's more diverse. That's what I would pick.
Okay.
Strat.
Okay. We're going back to Les Paul now. So Les
Okay.
Paul or SG?
So an SG is like Tony Iommi or Angus Young, that shape.
Yeah.
Les Paul, it's a thicker piece of mahogany, so it's a beefier tone. Although I recently bought an SG and I kind of love it. So
Okay, but you can't pick both because that's cheating.
yeah, no,
So
Les Paul, Les Paul, Les
okay.
Paul,
All
Strat
right.
and Les Paul. It's just meat and potatoes,
All
peas
right.
and carrots. Yeah.
Peas. No peas. I'll eat any other of your vegan food, but no peas. I got scarred in England for sure. Okay. So trem or hardtail?
Okay, so what I mean by that is, does it have a whammy bar or not? Um, do the whammy bar. You can do cool
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. It's just good to have, right? Like you don't
yeah.
have to use
You
it,
don't
but
have
you
to use
can
it
use it.
exactly. Egg Feature said the same thing. Yes.
Yes. See, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Almost. I'm learning things as well.
Me too.
So 22 or 24 frets?
Okay, so that just basically means how many frets there are in the neck.
Yeah.
A standard guitar would, a modern guitar would have 22. Older guitars have 21, which I don't like. 24, when it has 24 frets, the pickups are set back a little bit further into the body. So
Uh-huh.
22 is enough for me.
You feel like that's good. You don't want to mess with any of the other stuff.
Yeah, the 24 frets, it plays differently. It feels different
Yeah,
in your hands.
that totally makes sense. Okay. Thin, medium, or thick pick?
I like thick picks. I use a 0.90 thickness. You can't bend it very
Yeah,
easily. It makes
I
this
use thick
sound.
picks too.
Yeah,
Well,
thin
I
ones
play
are dumb,
acoustic, so
but even better. But see that for me, like my main gig for 5 years straight did 1,000 acoustic gigs, literally. So you need
yeah.
that thicker pick to grab the strings. Yeah.
Yes. So nice. Okay. Nines or tens?
I prefer 10 gauge strings. It just has to do with the thickness of the strings.
And 10 gauge strings. You like the way they sound better?
I played 11s for many years, so it'd be
Okay.
11 through a 52. The low E would be a 52, the high E would be an 11. But I tuned down to E flat, so it felt
Okay.
sort of spongy in my hands, but they were thicker strings. So now when I play tens tuned to standard, it still sort of has the same play. If I play nines, I break them. They feel like doll hair. It's just
Yeah.
too thin.
Okay. So would you recommend though nines for someone who's just learning, or you just be like, go tens?
If you're learning and your fingers are bothering you, I'd start with the nines. They ship most guitars with nines. That's kind of
Yeah.
the standard. But I mean, I've been at points in my career, I've had custom mixed gauges where it's like light top, heavy bottom, just
Ooh.
madness.
That sounds awesome though. Okay, P bass or jazz bass?
Jazz bass.
Yeah, I agree. Not that it matters, but
Yes.
explain your answer. Explain yourself.
I like the way it looks aesthetically. I have them in the other room. I'm sorry, I can't bring, but jazz bass, Jacko, stores, like with just this is a flea. That's what they're using. It
Yeah.
has a thinner
Yeah.
by the nut. This part of the neck is thinner, so I just like
Mhm.
the way that feels in my hands better. I can slap and do cooler stuff. P bass is good. I have both, but jazz bass. If I was on a gig or a session, you'd see me with the jazz.
Okay. Good to know. All right. This is like the real one, right? Maple or rosewood fretboard?
Oh, that's so mean to ask that to people. So,
You do
um,
it every
I
time.
know,
You have
I
to
know.
answer.
So, the PRS guitars, everything that they have up until very recently is always rosewood or
Rosewood,
ebony.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. On a Strat, I prefer maple because the body, the tone of the wood, I
Yeah.
think it sounds good. It's snappier. Um,
Okay.
Someone was just talking about this. I forget who. Uh, Oh, it was John Mayer. John Mayer was saying, wouldn't it be
Oh,
cool if they made a guitar that was rosewood up to like the 12th fret and then maple on the other side? So you could have the chunky for the rhythm, but then the snap for which I don't even know if that would work, but what an
I don't
idea if it
know.
did.
But you know who could figure it out is PRS 100%.
Right. Who John Mayer is endorsed by. So
Right, right. It's convenient,
maybe.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're the ones who like I'm telling you, you have to go watch Rob's interview, but they like figured out that like twisted wood because of weather is actually like makes this crazy guitar. I mean, this whole I'm ruining it. I'm bastardizing it. Sorry. But go watch the interview because I was like my brain was full in an awesome way.
Yeah. He's incredible.
Okay. Martin acoustic or Taylor acoustic? I have a very strong opinion about this one. I'll tell you.
So do I, but I'm a hypocrite. Ready? So I've been a Martin guy forever. I have a Martin I forget the model number. It's not a fancy one. It's just like
Okay.
right, a
Middle.
$1,200 middle ground for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like right when you get into their American made stuff. And it is a rosewood body. It sounds perfect with Sam's voice. That is the main heated exchange acoustic duo guitar.
Yeah.
But I just bought myself a Taylor for my birthday. So we'll see when that comes tomorrow. Where do you go
Okay,
on that?
you have to tell me. I have a Taylor. I was like I thought nothing could sound better than my dad's like 1983 yellow-eyed Yamaha because that's what I grew up hearing, right? Like it still is my favorite sound, even though he's like, "No, here's a Gibson Hummingbird." I'm like, no, I'll take the junky Yamaha, please." But when I got my Taylor, everyone in my family was like, "How does it sound like that?" And then they played it
Yeah.
and they're like, "How is the action like that and it sounds like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you guys should just go buy one." But they just steal mine and play it.
It's they do different things. It's an unfair question. Again, I'm an asshole
Yeah.
because a Taylor and a Martin, they're very different animals, even though they're both
Yeah.
acoustic guitars. And those old Yamahas, don't sleep on those. Yamaha has amazing acoustics. So
I
I
know.
can imagine what
I'm
that sounds
wrestling
like.
for that. Like my dad's like, "I'm gonna give it to your brother." I'm like, "Dude, why? Like I heard it first. I'm the oldest. I should get it." I still
Right?
maintain that to this day.
Do it.
Okay. Amp, gain, or pedal?
Amp gain. Do you know what that means? Should I explain that? Or
Yes, please. Please,
okay.
yes.
So the Bogner, the amp on the bottom, it has two channels. It has a clean channel and it has a distortion channel.
Yeah.
So that would be amp gain, built-in distortion.
Okay.
There's a circuit in there that's overdriving the tubes. So it's a synthetic way of making it distort. This Marshall up top, it only has one channel that you have to crank to get it to
Okay.
break up, or that little box on the top is called an attenuator. So it basically you plug it between the amp and the speaker, and you can crank the amp, but then it squashes down the dB so you don't blow your face
Ooh.
off.
Yeah.
Um, for my entire life, it was amps with because tube amps, you want that distortion.
Right.
The last really big band gig I did, I brought a um, Fender Twin, which is a clean one channel amplifier, and I used pedals to get all the different distortion sounds I wanted. So again, same thing with the single coils. Rob forever would say amp gain. Now it's kind of the pedals pushing it because you can really color things a little differently.
I love this like progression that you're describing because as you grow in something, whatever it is, however long you've been doing it, you will always keep changing your opinions about
Yeah.
things. And I
Yep. And
love
I'm not
that so
shy
much.
about it. Like I
Yeah.
meet people who are so like this and only this. And I'm like, well, enjoy a boring life because nothing is this and only this.
Yeah, totally. Okay. I don't know what these mean.
Okay.
6L6 or EL34?
So those are the types of uh, tubes in the amplifier that
Okay.
6L6 are an American sounding, a Fender, a Mesa Boogie. EL34 is more like your Marshall or EL84. I have been a 6L6 guy forever. Now I am completely agnostic. I don't care. They each do something awesome. But if I had to pick based on the amplifier I said I'd take, that's the Mark V would be 6L6.
Okay. All right. So he picked. You heard it.
Yes, yes.
All right. Is the W for watts 100 watt or 25
Yes.
watt amp?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So what that means is um, this black amp and the one is a 100-watt amplifier. So to get it, remember I said with the tubes you got to crank it to get it to sound good.
Yeah.
This has a master volume, so that kind of circumvents that. But
Okay.
like the Fender amp that I brought on the gig, there's no master volume. It's a 100-watt amp, so I can put it on like 1.5, and it's blowing people away. That's not very practical. So there's
Right,
this
right.
whole trend now in lower wattage amplifiers that you can get them louder without blowing your face off. I prefer the higher wattage amp and just get an attenuator so you can kind of bump it
So
down in between.
not blow your face off, but also still sound the way you want it to.
Yeah, because those 100-watt amps, you got to get them real loud to get the tone you want. But
Yeah.
that headroom to have those extra watts, that's the only way to get that tone. So it's a double-edged sword.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I think I know which one you're going to pick. Delay or reverb?
My entire life delay, but now it's reverb. I hated
Okay.
reverb. I hated reverb. I hated it. I hated it. Now, if I play an amp without reverb on all the time, I feel like I am nude. It just catches the note in a beautiful way.
You're like, I need that extra covering,
Yeah,
right?
just a little cushion to carry the. If I hit a bad note, this will cover it nicely.
But
Yeah,
there are
but they're
no
both
bad
awesome.
notes. There are no bad
Makes
notes,
sense.
though.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in the book. It's in the book. Okay. Fuzz or overdrive?
Overdrive. I don't understand fuzz. I have many fuzz pedals, and I just can't wrangle them. They're
It's
untamed
not the
wild
same.
stallions. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Phaser or chorus?
This is the only question where there is a definitive right answer, and the answer is phaser. It is always phaser.
But why?
Okay, so do you know? So think Crazy Train, Randy Rhoads' guitar tone. It's
Okay.
distortion, but there's like a little bit of wiggle to it. So
Yeah.
phaser and chorus are both modulation pedals. They take the
Okay.
signal and they that kind of thing to it.
They throw it.
Chorus,
Yeah.
think Prince's guitar sound on what's that song? Kiss. Boom. So whatever. I'm nerding out. Phaser, I love the way I think phaser because Ryan was in a Pink Floyd band, so I loved
Yeah.
Pink Floyd growing up, and a phaser is such a huge part of so a song like "Have a Cigar." Like that's all phaser, and I just love
You
that
have
sound.
to have it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We're
on
going to
every
talk
board I've
more
ever
about
built.
them in a minute.
Okay,
Okay. Wah or volume?
wah, more control. I'll do I do a lot of volume with my pinky, like on the actual guitar, so I don't need a
Okay.
pedal for it. And even
All
if like
right.
I want to do like swells, I'll just do it all in my hands.
Which he can teach you to do, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, all these things. I'll explain all these words in great detail.
But he'll teach you how to actually do it, which is even
Yes,
better.
yes.
All right. Oh, this is like the evil part of your thing, I feel. Okay. Let's go there. Beatles or Stones?
Beatles,
Okay,
Beatles.
explain. Justify
Okay,
your answer, man.
so I want to make like a biblical reference, but I don't know how to do it. But first there was this, and then there was this, and before all of that, there was the Beatles.
Okay.
I think there's a piece of the Beatles in everything I like, and I'm not Mr. Beatles guy. I am not.
Yeah.
I couldn't name more than 10 songs if I really, really tried, maybe 20. But I don't know what songs on what album, but I recognize the songwriting, I recognize the dynamic between the members. The sum was greater
Yeah.
than its parts, which is huge in bands because sometimes people get kind of full of themselves, but
Yeah.
really it's
Like
that
I'm the whole
magical
band.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stones are great too. I mean, I Keith Richards is immortal, and when I'm drunk, I do my best Mick Jagger moves. So but yeah, it's the Beatles.
Okay. On that note, John or Paul?
It's Paul. I would fight John. We would fight. We would get into fist fights.
I think a lot of people would fight with John.
Yeah.
And not very many people would fight with Paul. So I
No,
can see I can
Yep.
see why you would say that for sure. Is there something you like distinctly about Paul's sound or his style that you like more than John's or
No, because I love a bunch of John songs. I mean,
yeah.
there was a summer where I listened to The Walrus hundreds of times. It was like a girl I was dating, and that was our song, and like I loved it, and I still love it.
Yeah.
Um, but I just think it may be longevity too, which is unfair because obviously John's not here. I think had he
Right.
continued, maybe things would have changed. But Paul, just how he's this
He
elder
kept going.
statesman, yeah. But ultimately, I think it's just on personality. Like just from what I've
Okay.
read and seen of John, I just feel like he was an instigator, and I'm like Mister. Hey, let's all be friends, and I don't. That doesn't work.
But also together, obviously it's fire, right?
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing will has been or will ever be what that writing duo was.
Okay, and there's a plenty of music geeking out in the book, by the way. I just wanted to point that out because it's really
Yes.
fun. Rob goes crazy with all these different band references and song references. And we're the same age, so I understood all of them, which was awesome for me. I didn't feel old this time. Okay, this one I don't know how you can answer. Bowie or Dylan?
Bowie, very easily. So
Okay, but like,
Bob Dylan's a great songwriter. Bob Dylan
okay,
should write songs for other people. Bob Dylan is a caricature of what he could be.
I know.
It
His
just
early
it
stuff sounds so different for sure.
but I mean another guy. If there wasn't a Dylan, there wouldn't be so many people. But to me, um, particularly in my formative years, I was very showy, nail polish, makeup, girls' pants. So Bowie's androgynous showmanship and the way he was a chameleon. I mean,
Yes.
he did a record with Trent Reznor, and Nine Inch Nails was one of my favorite bands. And to hear the same guy who was doing Ziggy Stardust do, I'm Afraid of Americans. It's just like, whoa, how are you the same guy?
I know. And he would like, yeah, I was watching a whole thing about him the other day, and I'm like, he was honestly a chameleon. That's the perfect way to
Yeah.
I love him. I would pick him over Dylan, even though as someone who has a degree in literature, I shouldn't because he's got the Nobel Prize for Literature now. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay.
But Dylan as a
Zeppelin.
songwriter, I mean, Dylan
Oh
as
yeah,
a
go ahead.
songwriter, I don't want to discredit that. Like his writing and he can tell a story. It's brilliant. It's just something about I don't know. I'm disconnected.
Well, I mean, Bowie could do that too, though. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like, hmm. Okay. But yes. All right. Zeppelin or Floyd?
Led Zeppelin. Led
Okay.
Zeppelin. So Led Zeppelin is one of my top five favorite bands of all time. That doesn't. I have top five favorite bands. Four of them never move, and then the fifth one it rotates. And
Okay.
Zeppelin's one of the four that never Zeppelin never moves.
All right. So is Pink Floyd not on that list?
It sometimes occupies that fifth position. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends on mood because I feel like I can listen to Led Zeppelin music, um, running through a range of emotions. They have more
Yeah.
acoustic stuff. They have more bluesy stuff. They have heavier stuff. They have um, cashmere ethnic sort of stuff. Whereas like
Mhm.
Pink Floyd to me, like if I'm doing work, I'll throw in a Pink Floyd. As I point to another screen you can't see. That'll just kind of take me on a journey. Led
Yes.
Zeppelin, like I don't know, like the guitar stuff, but just again hypocrisy because David Gilmour is my favorite guitar player. So who knows who I am?
Well, I think you know that pretty well. All right. Dark Side or the Wall?
The Wall. The
Interesting.
answer is The Wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Why?
So Dark Side's awesome. It's obviously awesome. It's freaking Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I came into the band, knowing that band, when I first saw um, the Machine, which was the band that my guitar teacher was in, playing at a
Okay.
club called the Wetlands, which isn't there anymore, in Houston Street in the city, New York City. I walked in and they were playing Comfortably Numb, and there were smoke machines and other smoke in the air and light shows, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this song?" And then the
Yeah.
first Pink Floyd CD I got was The Wall, and then I went backwards.
Okay.
I just think Run Like Hell, Young Lust, like there's just so much, and the story, the narrative. But again, the chorus in Us and Them literally will make me weep just thinking
Yeah.
about it. So it's they're all great. They're terrible questions. I'm a jerk.
Yeah. But see, now you're living that thing that you created. So I admire
Yeah,
that about you. You're just taking it. I love it.
yeah.
Okay, I already know the answer to this question, but Pearl Jam or Nirvana?
Pearl Jam. It's always going to
Yeah.
be Pearl Jam. But I just recently got on this Nirvana kick, and apparently Nirvana is pretty good too, but it's not Pearl Jam. It's a different thing.
Dude, have you seen the new Batman yet?
Yes. Oh my God. The best
Right?
placement in history.
I was just like, I was like nerding out so hard, and my kids next to me couldn't understand why I was like so into Batman. Batman was my first superhero, by the way, Michael Keaton and Adam
Of
West
course. Yeah.
simultaneously. But I was just
Simultaneously.
like, this is amazing. And my oldest daughter, she does listen to Nirvana. So she's like, Mom. And I was like, I know.
I missed what was happening in those scenes when they had that song because I was so into just taking it all in. Like
Yeah.
I literally blacked out from the movie and I was just experiencing it. And as a guitar teacher, so when Kurt recorded that song, it was just a one take, him just strumming and playing. It's a funny
Magic.
tuning on the guitar. So I have
Yeah.
kids coming in wanting to learn how to play it. I call everyone kids at all age. I don't mean it in a demeaning way. Every student
He
is a
means
kid. I'm a kid.
students. That's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I need to change that in my words. And I'm like, all right, well, we got to grab a different guitar to tune it. So I actually have a guitar sitting in my room to that tuning, so they can just feel it and play it because it's really
Oh my
weird to
gosh.
tune. Yeah, but
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
that's epic. I love that so much. Okay, well, you survived. Congratulations. You
Yes.
did it.
All right. Cool.
All right, so we've been practicing this, right? You're not going to be nervous. Even though if you're nervous, it's okay. So tell everyone why did you write this book? Why should they read it?
I'm just kidding. So the purpose, honestly, the purpose of this book is to tell people they can do something. And when I was first putting it together, I don't think that's what I thought it was going to be. I think, you really
Yeah.
brought that out earlier. But now it's just, I keep saying to people, it's like 20% autobiography through fun stories, 30% music education in a really digestible way. But that 50%, it's all self help. You can do it. I believe in you. We believe in you.
Yeah.
Let this be the thing that gives you the ability to say, I can play music. And I think what's so special about it, it doesn't have to be music. Obviously, I want it to be music, but maybe it's I can go back to school to get a cooking
Mm,
degree. Maybe it's
yeah.
I can learn how to use that you know, thing that I bought that is just sitting in the corner. You can do it. And I think music gave me that confidence, being really shy, you know, awkward, and just my life could have gone so many different ways because of my not believing in myself and not having the
Yeah.
ability to communicate properly. And I
Mhm.
think this will do that for people. So I know that's probably an out there answer to that question, but I really think that's what I want it to do. I want people to know you can do it, and this is going to show you you can.
All right. Well, I am done stealing Rob's show from him so that he could answer these questions for the first time. But I hope that you have gotten to know him a little bit better, like I've gotten to know him, and you will want to read this book. It is honestly awesome. And that's all I've got. I'll let you close out, Rob.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time, and this has been a very cool experience for me and interesting to kind of hear. I didn't rehearse any of it. I was very natural. And I think that's exciting for me because it's this experience was the same thing as the book. It's me getting to know myself. And I think knowing how to answer these questions about everything I do every day just makes me a better person to help other people going forward. And that's the end of the day, helping people. And you helped me tremendously. So thank you for that. And
Oh,
we'll see you guys in the book, right? It's going to be awesome. We're going to
yes.
shred.
See you there.
All right. Bye.